my name is Cheryl, and I'm here to share with y'all a little bit about my story and testimony. So, I recently just got out of doing a 15-year sentence, and mind you, first time ever being in trouble. I had never even been to jail prior to this, and 15 years out of incarceration. So, I want to share with y'all, first of all, where it started. At a young age, at 15, I started using drugs. At a young age, I started having sex. I started running away from home. It's like everything happened at 15. And that's, of course, how I landed in incarceration, which I will share with y'all in just a bit. So I just want to share briefly about how the doors opened for me as far as my addiction, because I was an addict to drugs, to alcohol. And so at 15 years old, I had this great idea one night that I was going to sneak out and I was going to go meet up with my boyfriend. And my younger sister, 1 year younger than me, she got wind of what I was going to do. So she decides she's going to do the same thing. She's going to call her boyfriend, and she wants her boyfriend to come pick her up too, because she wants to go out and hang out. So her boyfriend, okay, he's going to come pick her up. However, he's not the driver, he's just the passenger. Someone's going to take him to go pick her up, but the driver wants somebody for him to hang out with. So my sister, she comes to me and she says, if I would go and hang out with her and her boyfriend and hang out with somebody I don't even know. And of course, in the beginning, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I've made plans to meet up with my boyfriend. Like, how would you ask me to ditch my plans so you can go meet up? Well, big sister want to be the role model or think, and so I kind of felt bad for her, and I caved in to her, and I was like, okay. So I ended up going out with her and her boyfriend, and we went to this house, and of course, things were going on that we got caught up in drugs. We got introduced to drugs. We was around people that were using that we didn't know, and of course that's where it all began. Now mind you, I have an addictive personality. I do. I admit to it. But not only that, the social environment, that played a huge impact as far as my use of drugs. During my incarceration sentence, like in the beginning, I was big in programs while I was incarcerated, and so of course they would teach you about people, places, and things, and how that impacted your choices, your decision making, who you are as a person. And in the beginning, I would be like, yeah, not so much a big deal, A social environment doesn't play that big of a deal. But slowly down the road, I started to realize your social influence plays a major part of what you choose to do. And so I just want to share with y'all what I looked up online. The top 3 major types of social influence. The top 3 are 1, conformity, 2, compliance, and obedience is the last one. So first is conformity. It is the slightest one. When people do as others do, it's called the chameleon effect, where people basically act like chameleons and unconsciously imitate others. So like, for example, you can yawn, you can laugh, cross legs in public, and people, they don't always admit to it or even realize that they're doing what the next person is doing. So that's the first social influence. The second social influence is compliance. This is the one that I believe I fell under, and I think we all have a tendency to fall under this one. So it's when people appear to agree with others, but actually keep their dissenting opinions private. Dissenting, that means holding or expressing opinions that are at different to those commonly or officially held. And so I just want to tap on that for a minute, y'all, because at age 15, like I said, I started using drugs. I was around people that that I didn't agree with the things that they were doing. But even though I didn't agree with it in my head, and I knew that it was wrong due to my upbringing and my morals and my beliefs, I still went along with it. But I held back my opinion of saying this is wrong or what you're doing isn't right. Instead, I held back. I thought it, yeah. But I didn't do anything about it. I went right along with the flow. And so therefore, I became part of my social influence and let my social influence impact the decisions that I made, the person who I was. And next and third is obedience. So that occurs when you behave in a particular way because someone of higher status has ordered you to do so. So that could be your boss at work, it could be a parent, professor at school, and in any case, the expectation, it's stated clearly and often accompanied by some kind of social punishment if you fail to obey. In general, obedience can be considered a more extreme version of compliance. So the example that I always use with this one right here for obedience, when I was incarcerated, you had times that you had to be up for bed early in the morning. You had to have your bed made and at a certain time. And if you didn't, then there was a consequence that followed it. So since being out to this day, I have been affected by my social my social atmosphere through obedience, because if I wasn't up and I didn't have my bed made, there would be a consequence. And to this day, I get up early every morning. That has stuck with me. Something I haven't been able to break. Alright, so I just wanted to share that with y'all because whether you think it or believe it, your social influence plays a huge part of what you do, of how you think, of the person you become. And so don't let it fool you when you think that you can hang around somebody who's doing the complete opposite of you. Let's say you're trying to live this good life, and this person over here is doing the complete opposite of what you think or what you believe to be right. That is a sign that you need to step away, because it will cloud your judgment the longer you hang around that type of person. So I just want to share with y'all, as I stated, I was using drugs at age 15, and my life from 15 all the way up until my incarceration was like this. So it was like up, down, up, down. And when I say that, I mean, I was one of those type of people that I would do good for a while in life, and then I would crash, I would do bad. For example, I would hold jobs for a period of time, then I would go binging on drugs, and then I would lose the job. It's like I would do good within my family. I would be around, and then next thing you know, I'd be gone for days. And so nothing in my life was consistent. Even my living arrangements, I didn't stay in one spot because I was using drugs. I was bouncing around from place to place. Within my relationship, I was with the father of my kids at age 15, but that wasn't a steady relationship. Like, we were together, but as far as it being healthy, it was not healthy. There was nothing consistent within that relationship. So my life was nothing but a yo-yo. So you can imagine all the chaos, it was just a mess. Let's just cut it to that. It was a mess. So I just want to continue sharing with y'all that like I said, I was one type of person that didn't think that me going to prison that would ever happen, because even though I was using drugs and I wasn't out there directly hurting anybody, like killing anybody, I wasn't directly stealing from anybody, I wasn't directly, everything that I was doing was pretty much self-harm to myself. So I felt like I was in the clear and that I was okay. I'll share with y'all about the accident. So that happened when I was 25 years old. I got into this accident, and what happened was, at this point in my life, I had been laid off from my job, and I had been with this job for 2 years, and the father of my kids also was at this job. But there came a time when we were both working, and we got into an altercation at work. Of course, the bosses found out. He was terminated right away. I went under an investigation. At this time also, in my point in life, me and the father of my kids, we had just split up, and so I was staying with my sister at this time as well. So here I am staying with my sister, and I had no job. Not only that, but the father of my kids had cut off my cell phone, so I had no cell phone. My last check that I had got from the job, so I gave it to the father of my kids like I always did. He would always pay the SUV payment, and so that's what I did, and he did not pay the SUV payment. So here I am at this point in my life. SUV payment hasn't been paid. I have no cell phone. I have no money. I'm staying with my sister. She's the one helping me out and getting me through this time frame. And so what I decided to do, something stupid. I decided to meet up with somebody from my past, and I drank heavily, because what I was about to do wasn't something I was proud of. So to get rid of those thoughts and emotions and everything that came behind it, I drank heavily because I didn't want to remember. And so what happened next is I get behind the wheel while under the influence of the alcohol, and it turned into a complete blackout, and I have no recollection of anything except for waking up in the hospital. And you wake up and you don't know what's happened, and that was me. I had no clue that I had just killed somebody and that somebody was seriously hurt. A little girl, seriously hurt. I ended up asking them what happened, and they told me that I killed someone, that I had been in a car accident, and that I had killed someone. And at first, I didn't want to believe it. Like, that's the last thing anybody ever wants to believe, is that you killed somebody, that you took somebody's life. You don't want to think that about yourself, nor do you want to think that somebody has lost their life because of you. And somebody's not going to see tomorrow because of you. So after I get out of the hospital, of course, I go straight to the county jail. And there, the girls would sit around the table and talk about each other's charges. And I remember them saying, "You killed somebody," and I would be like, "No, I didn't kill anybody. An accident happened." And I was like that for the first 6 months in there, and I would not admit and claim that I killed anybody. I would just blame it on that it was an accident. But it was after 6 months that I came to own up to what I did, and I said, yes, I killed somebody. And finally I was able to take ownership for what I did. And I think I knew how wrong and how bad it was, so I didn't want to take ownership for something like that. But it finally came to a point where it sunk in. It's like, yeah, you did that. You caused that. You took that life. And that's one of the hardest things to do. So I want to share with y'all, while I was incarcerated, I did many programs, but when I first got incarcerated, and I'm talking about in prison, I was doing everything everybody else was doing. Like I stated earlier, your social influence. I followed what everybody else was doing. stealing out of the kitchen, not following the rules, just mishandling my time in prison. And it wasn't until about 2.5 years into my sentence that I got into a program. I completed this program, and then I had that sense of self-accomplishment that I did something good with myself. And it felt good to know that I completed something. And from that point on, I kept doing programs all the way up until my release. And it was a good thing because I learned so much in the programs. I learned a lot while I was incarcerated. And I'll share with you all that, even while I was in there, God was with me the whole time. And I didn't see that right away, because I was saved before I got incarcerated. It's just, I never walked out or understood my belief prior to my incarceration. And you sitting in prison for 15 years, well, actually I did 13, so I got game time. But when you sit in there for that long, you have a lot of time to reflect on yourself. You have a lot of time to reflect on the things around you, your family, reflect on what you've done. You have just so much time, and I found that the best thing to do was to learn about myself, to learn about my God, to learn about the impact of my choice. And one of the biggest things that I learned in there was about cognitive dissonance. And I have it on my phone. I want to share with y'all what cognitive dissonance means. Let me pull it up. So cognitive dissonance, what that is, the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. So cognitive dissonance, the term cognitive dissonance is used to describe the mental discomfort that results from holding two conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes. And people tend to seek consistency in their attitudes, perceptions. So this conflict causes feelings of unease or discomfort. So I share that with y'all because that is huge for me today. When I learned about cognitive dissonance, I realized that my beliefs were not matching up with my actions. So therefore, I was suffering from cognitive dissonance. There wasn't a balance there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to share with y'all this video. And this girl, she shares it and breaks it down so much better than I. And once you hear it, I think you'll have a better understanding of cognitive dissonance.
Talked about in a previous video about how attitudes generally shape our behaviors. People strive for consistency and harmony between their attitudes and behaviors. For example, you wouldn't hold the attitude that eating meat is immoral and then still go out to Burger King and have a positive attitude towards eating hamburgers. So there's an inconsistency, and as people, we usually don't like that. We feel a sense of discomfort. Now, when we have these contradictions in our attitudes and behaviors, this can lead to something called cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is the discomfort experienced when holding two or more conflicting cognitions. And these cognitions can be ideas, beliefs, values, or emotional reactions. And this feeling of discomfort can lead to alterations in one of our attitudes, in one of our beliefs, or even our behaviors. And the reason we alter or change these cognitions is kind of like a protective mechanism or defense mechanism to reduce the discomfort we feel between inconsistencies. So let's take a look of cognitive dissonance in the eyes of a smoker. Now, pretending we're a smoker, we're going to say, I smoke. But at the same time, we also think and have this attitude that smoking leads to cancer. Now, our behavior is we smoke, but our attitude is that smoking leads to cancer. There is a contradiction there. Do you see it? There's an inconsistency. So this is what dissonance is. They are are contradictions. And we don't like contradictions. We like balance and harmony, all that good stuff. So when we have these contradictions, we may do 4 different things to our cognitions to alter those attitudes in order to reduce that comfort. And the first of these is that we may try to modify 1 or 2 of our cognitions. So in this example of the smoker may say, I really don't smoke that much. So he went or she went from saying I smoke to modifying that a little bit and saying I really don't smoke that much. So there's a little bit of an alteration there in order to reduce the discomfort that person has in their attitude and behavior. The second thing that they might try and do is trivialize. Trivialize, which means making less important. So they may change the importance of their cognition or trivialize it by saying something like, the evidence is weak that smoking causes cancer. So remember, their original cognition was smoking leads to cancer. Now they're saying, by trivializing, that the evidence is weak that smoking causes cancer. So do you see how there's a little bit of an alteration there as well? Now the third way that this contradiction can be modified or reduced is by adding more cognitions. So another way we can make our cognitions less discomfortable, or the contradictions less uncomfortable, is by adding more cognitions. So someone may say, I exercise so much that it doesn't even matter that I smoke. Well, the first was I smoke. The second was smoking leads to cancer. And now we're slightly modifying both of those by adding another cognition, saying, I exercise so much that it doesn't even matter that I smoke. So there's a third way that we deal with cognitive dissonance. And the last way is by denying these cognitions altogether. So we're denying that they're even related, denying that smoking and cancer are even related. So the smoker in this case may say that there is no evidence that smoking and cancer are linked. So this is cognitive dissonance in a nutshell in the eyes of a smoker. And the big take-home message here is that people strive for harmony. We strive for harmony in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions. And as soon as our cognitions, our attitudes and behaviors don't align, that's when we have cognitive dissonance.
For centuries, smart investors have used farm.
Alright, so I'm sure y'all heard at the end of it that we all strive for balance and consistency, and that is huge for me today. And that's what I didn't have when I was 15 all the way to 25. Like I told you, my life was a yo-yo. Nothing was consistent. I didn't have peace in my life. I didn't have balance. And so what she said at the end of the video, that we all strive for balance and consistency and harmony, that is so true. That is huge for me today, especially a part of my sobriety, is that I follow what I believe in. And my belief system stems up from the Bible. It's in God. That is my higher power, and that is where my foundation lies. So when I'm not in line with what I know to be right, then of course I experience the discomfort, thoughts, emotions, and I start to get discombobulated because I know what I'm supposed to do. And today I don't sit there and try to make excuses for it. Today it's like, you know what you got to do, and it's a matter of a choice. Am I going to do it? Are you going to do it? It's just a choice we have to make. And it's so much easier when we make the right choice, because when I go against what I know to be right, then I start beating myself up. Then I start veering off with these weird thoughts and these crazy thoughts, and I just don't have the peace or the balance that I need, that I look for. And so that right there, cognitive dissonance, is huge for me. So you want to be able to line up with what you believe in, you know? If you believe that you're supposed to go to church on Sundays, then that's what you should do. So, you know, I hope and I pray that all of y'all just keep pressing forward, that you don't give up, because even in the time of my incarceration, God was with me. Even though I didn't always see it, nor did I always feel Him, He was with me through that whole incarceration. He taught me so much. He taught me to value myself, to value the choices that I make, because the choices they impact my life so much. And a big thing that I've gathered since my incarceration is gratitude. There's not a day that goes by that I am grateful that I am alive, compared to what my victim suffered. There's no words that can be spoken. You know, God is good is what I can say. I will say this, that, you know, my victims in the beginning were super angry with me, which they had every right to be angry with me. And compared to her losing her life, and I will share with y'all, she was a young mother. She lost her life. She was 1 year younger than me. She was 24, the girl who passed, the life that was taken. And she had a little girl, and she was like 3 years old at the time of the accident. And the mother died instantly. The little girl was broken up from head to toe. And so, me only having to do 13 years compared to a lifetime, she's never going to see light or day, is nothing. Really is nothing. God has been so good in allowing me to be able to go through that, me personally, because it could have been so much worse. Might not have my life today. To be able to sit here and speak with y'all and just share this story is goodness of God. And I don't care who you are, what your situation looks like. Never give up. If you're still breathing, then you have hope within you. But you gotta press forward, and you gotta, no matter what, just keep pressing forward. I had to do that during my incarceration sentence. I had to do that when this accident took place. You know, it's easy to give up. That's the easy way out. But take the hard path. Never give up. Keep pressing forward. I'm sorry I got off track there, but I will share with y'all. My victims were very angry with me. And they did do an update with them prior to me getting out of my incarceration. And they said that the little girl, she is now 15 years old, she's just said that there's not a day that doesn't go by that she doesn't miss her mother. And she just hopes that I do good. I get out and I do good. And the grandma, which is the one taking care of her since her mother had passed away, she also said the same thing. And that was huge, huge for me. I thank God for those words, that they at least hope that I do better with myself. So God is good in that aspect as well. But I hope y'all can get something from this. I'm sorry, I stumbled a little bit over my words. Yes, I was a little bit nervous. I'm not a professional speaker. I do appreciate all of y'all listening in on my story. And like I said, cognitive dissonance. Follow what you believe in. Learn about your higher power. Be at peace within yourself. Have balance. Have consistency. Because when you have that, then things are so much smoother in your life. Thank you for sharing.